Newcastle United rant incoming. Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to the show. Before we get into today's video, I just want to talk about Newcastle's performance against Watford on the weekend. It started off very good. We were on the front foot. We looked like the better team. We looked like the team that honestly did have the Saudi owners and had the strength in depth. But that's exactly what we don't have at this club. We do not have strength in depth. We don't even have a strong first 11 to put out, actually. But we'll get into the players just now. After we scored, we sat back. So, great goal by Alan Maximum, but then we just sat back after that. And it's not good enough. We cannot afford to sit back against a team like Watford. When you're playing against Watford, a fellow relegation rival, and you are in the control seat and you are dominating play, after you score the first goal, go and score more. Go and at least try and score more. And then in maybe the last 10 minutes, you can look to kind of shore things up, put on a couple more midfielders, a defender, and try and see the game out. But instead, Newcastle scored around the 60th minute and then went straight into defensive mode. And then it was just one-way football the rest of the game. Also, things got sloppy, too many mistakes in midfield, turning over possession, and then not enough hard work to try and get back to cover after you make a mistake and give away the ball. I'm looking at you, Alan Maximum. So what do we need? We need, in my opinion, another attacking midfielder, because Joe Linton is not it. Almiron is not it. Jacob Murphy, he's not it either. We need someone to play in that cam position, someone to support the striker, because it seems like Chris Wood and Callum Wilson before him were just very isolated up front. We need a right winger. We need someone to come in off the right-hand side. We probably need another centre mid to partner Sean Longstaff. And overall, we need a centre back. We need to sort out the spine of this team. You could argue that striker has been sorted out with Chris Wood there. It's good enough for the rest of the season, I suppose. We need another midfielder, and then we desperately need a centre-half. We've been linked with a whole bunch of centre-halves throughout this window, and I'm just hopeful that one of them pays off. In today's video, I'm back with Strasbourg Steve. Steve is an incredible human being. He supports a whole number of clubs because his passion for football is just something that I truly admire, and it inspires me as well. It makes me remember how I was so passionate about football when I started supporting it many years ago. In this video, he takes me through how he ended up supporting different clubs around Europe and how he has developed this affiliation with these different clubs, and it makes for a really cool story. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe and all those good things. And yeah, enjoy the video. I know you're a Newcastle fan, but you're wearing a Lazio shirt. Your name is Strasbourg, Steve. You support all these different clubs, and obviously you're watching these clubs, wanting them to win. So I don't know, man. I don't know how you want to do it. Take me through your journey of how you ended up supporting a different club in so many different countries.
Right.
But before you even when you start, I just want to let you know, like, I think that is super cool. Like, I used to get like bullied at school for saying that, because when I got into football as well, I used to love PSV Eindhoven in Holland. I used to love like random teams all over the place. Barcelona in Spain was one, Atletico Mineiro in Brazil, and everyone was like, you can't support 100 different teams, but you can. So let me hear the story.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it, and the thing is, right, with, like I said, the only sports that I was into before football were the four major ones in the US. So I've always had like, okay, yeah, I root for the White Sox, root for the Bulls or the Chicago Bears, the NFL team. But the thing is about American sports is that there's one major league. Yeah, you have like other leagues like hockey as the American Hockey League, where you have basically the farm teams of other teams, or the NBA is the G League, so they have a Bulls team with a bunch of young players. But it the NBA is so much more prominent in this country than even a credible league, another basketball league like Euro League.
Anywhere in the world, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. So I've only known to really watch NBA, really watch MLB. The Olympics were, yeah, that's other times where you support your national team. But
Yeah.
the thing the thing with football is you have top five leagues. You arguably have five leagues that are very, very strong in Europe. Um, and then there's a whole world outside of those top five leagues in Europe, and then in South America. And in the United States, you can have a Liga MX side,
Hmm.
MLS side. There's so many strong leagues and so many diehard fan bases, and there's so that actually you get to watch in the U.S. Um, so I was completely, and I still am. I'm completely obsessed with it. That, oh my god, I get to watch all of these quality leagues at the click of a button.
Pretty much.
I mean, that's what I've liked about, that's why I felt like, oh, I should support, because, or not that I should support. It just felt natural because it's like, oh, it's a different league.
Hmm.
I can support Lazio and Strasbourg, and Bayern is my Bundesliga side
Hmm.
because my mother, or my Oma, rest in peace, she was born in Gießen, and her brother supported Bayern,
Oh,
so
cool.
I passed that on as part of my legacy. So, and my mom still has her friend Frank, who lives in Germany, and he supports Bayern. So it's kind of a part of my my identity. I like Legia Warszawa from Poland. I've got
Hmm.
my dad's half Polish, and his parents were immigrated from Poland to here, and they're also Hungarian. And there's just so much there's so many teams you can invest in. Um,
So how did
I
you,
just,
but
I
how do you
just,
pick them? I mean, there's 20 teams in each league. You know, you've got so many different players that you can maybe identify with. So how did you pick? Like let's look at the shirt you're wearing, for example, now, and
yeah,
let's go to the Serie A. How
yeah.
did you pick Lazio?
Well, I picked Lazio because freshman year we were studying ancient Rome and whatnot, and people were doing different presentations on Rome and what made the city so special. And I'm like, okay, I was just getting into football, so I'm like, I want to learn more about these the two Roman sides, Roma and Lazio. And I did a full out PowerPoint with I did tons of research, compared and contrast how many trophies they've won, legendary players and whatnot. And I'm like, I really like Lazio. Their fans are incredible. Somewhat of a bad reputation, but I still think that's, it's a little bit harsh to judge the actions of a few on a little. Otherwise, everybody's fan base is rotten and
That's true.
racist or
That's true.
whatever.
If you look for something, I mean, it's exactly what happened with our takeover. You know, if you want to find the negatives, you can find the negatives in every football club, in every owner. You're telling me every single owner is squeaky clean? You know, it's not possible. Um,
It isn't.
but with Lazio, so I love Lazio as well. So that's why I wanted to kind of start with Lazio, because when I think of Italy, I was torn at a young age because I loved Lazio, just because of actually the logo, the eagle on the logo, and I loved
That was
it.
the other one of the draws. The logo's really
It's just
nice.
cool.
Great fans, good history in Italy. They've got legendary players, Gascoigne, Inzaghi. Just really a club that's not one of the bigger ones, but it's still a top six club at the very best.
Hmm.
But that was never about it for me. I just, the derby with Roma is always an incredible game. Um, I've always just really liked Lazio. The colors, just there's so much stuff I identify with Lazio, and that I really learned through that project that I did freshman year. That I was like, yeah, I rep these guys.
Yeah, I think you did
So,
the right choice. I I eventually settled on supporting AC Milan. Um, got the T-shirt, got the kit, all that stuff when I was younger. And I think the big thing for me when it came to supporting AC Milan was because I loved Paolo Maldini at the time. For me, he was one of the best defenders. And when I was playing in high school, I was a defender as well. I was a right back, so I thought, okay, who am I gonna model my game after. And I just watched a lot of Paolo Maldini, and I thought, he's the kind of player that if I was ever going to try and be like a defender, I mean, he's not a bad person to try and play like. Is there any Lazio player for you that you were like, because of that player, like that's like what I'm attracted to, that's what I'm drawn to? He's the person that gets me to watch the team.
I mean, Immobile
Ciro
was,
Immobile, what a player.
I mean, I remember, I think we got him from Sevilla in 2016, I believe, and Lazio were struggling. I think they finished 8th or ninth the previous year. They had only about 2 or 3,000 season ticket holders before then, and that was also the first year they brought in Inzaghi as manager. And they turned that around, and I believe they finished might have finished top 4 or something like that. But and now in the past 5 years, Immobile's elevated himself to the top scorer of all time for Lazio with 160 plus goals in those
Incredible.
5 years, and it's like a renaissance almost. So
Incredible.
I've always loved Immobile. He's been my favorite player since I've gotten into the sport.
I
But
always found he was underrated. Like when he was at Dortmund, I found he was extremely underrated. But it seems like at Lazio, he's just found that inner beast of a player that he is.
he also was at Juventus, couldn't really get in for his youth career. He's born in the southern Italy, Ciro, very common name in south of Italy. So he never really found his feet at Dortmund or Sevilla or
Yeah,
Juve, a few other loan spells, but he finally found the club that fits him, Lazio, and he's a legend now. We all love him. We all love him to bits. So
for sure.
yeah, always looked up to Immobile.
It's
Luis
yeah,
Alberto too. I mean, my God, that guy's connection between Milinkovic, Savic, Alberto, and Immobile. Those guys, goals, assists, and all this stuff, chances created. Those guys it's a deadly trio.
it is a good time to support Lazio. They seem to. And you'll correct me. I mean, I don't watch the Serie A as much as I used to, but
Yeah.
where are they in the league? And how far do you think they are from now? Contesting in the likes of Inter Milan, AC Milan,
We
Juve.
play them today. Actually, we play Inter. Let's see. I watched the game on Thursday. We drew 3-3 with Empoli, and that was that would have been probably the game of the year. But you forget that we had a 4-4 draw at home with Udinese a few weeks ago. So the thing under Sarri is you score a lot of goals, but defense has been leaky. Vavro, Acerbi seems to have lost his step. I have immense respect for Acerbi, though. That's another one of those players because he came back from testicular cancer, I
Yeah,
believe, and
yeah.
he at one point was playing in 100 plus matches in a row in the starting 11 for Sassuolo. So he's that guy. That guy's a warrior, but it does seem he has dropped off a little bit. I think he's like 29, 30 years old now. He's getting up there in age, but yeah, I've always loved the Cherby. He's been almost our Maldini, someone you
Hmm.
look up to. So
For sure. Where do you see them finishing the season?
I mean, if we can get some decent center backs in the January window, um, I think Champions League is out of the question for now, at least, just because I think that top 4 is set. Like and that's even with I don't even think Juve will make top 4. To be honest, I
Not
really
at this
don't.
rate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would probably say probably 6th.
Okay.
Would
Decent,
say.
decent. I mean, I would love for Newcastle to finish anywhere near the top 6, but
I know, right?
Lazio's got a better chance at the moment. So yeah, cool. I mean, awesome story with Lazio. The story of the PowerPoint presentation is pretty cool, actually, that you actually
Yeah.
went to that level to compare them against Roma.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. Out of interest, anything else like that, some people wouldn't know that you found in your research
Mm,
about either, really,
what?
about either Roma or Lazio?
Either or Roma or Lazio. I guess one of the things that mm, I'm not sure. It's been a while, man. It's been a while. I'd have to really
You
think
can
about
you can break the presentation out and you can let me know another time.
that.
And then okay, cool. So let's go from Italy to France, and that's where you get your name, Strasbourg Steve. So
Strasbourg Alsace, yeah.
there's a story there for sure, and I want to hear it.
Yeah. So, well, I'm Alsatian. I'm Alsatian in my blood. So my great grandma Julia. So my grandmother's parents basically. My grandma Julia was born in the Alsace-Lorraine region of France, which borders Germany and France. It's like the about yeah, pretty much the northeast of France.
Okay.
So it borders Germany, and so they actually speak French and German there.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because
so I've always
Strasbourg, it doesn't sound like a French name, so I assume the origins are kind of a mix.
yeah, exactly, and it actually used to be under German occupation during the Second World War too.
Okay.
So, but yeah, and it's not called Alsace-Lorraine anymore. It's actually called the Grande region of France, but because they merged with another one. But people still are very over there, still very passionate about the Alsatian roots, and I've always loved I've always liked Strasbourg pretty much. And there's some other French teams. Ligue 1 to me is my favorite league to watch. Honestly, I love the
Really?
fans, the players, play style. Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%. Tons of quality players are there in France.
There are tons of quality players. I just think about the amount of players that end up getting, bought by the Premier League for cheap and then
Yeah.
end up going on to be like superstars. You look at Mahrez,
Sadio
Kante,
Mane.
like Sadio Mane. It's mad. But I mean, I've watched like some YouTubers and I've watched some people say that like the French league is like it's like playing really it's I mean the one guy said it was like playing pub teams because it's PSG just win everything. But we've seen Lille beat PSG to the
Monaco.
title.
Monaco a few years ago.
Monaco in the Champions League final I mean this was back when Mourinho was the Porto manager.
2004,
Yeah,
3.
exactly, exactly. I mean, that was a long time ago. Benny McCarthy was playing for Porto. That's why I remember. But I mean, I also believe that the French league is it is a competitive league. But how is Strasbourg doing?
Strasbourg are actually doing really, really good. We recently departed last year with Thierry Lory, who actually won us a Coup de la Ligue in 2018-19. We beat Guingamp 0-0 on penalties. And that's how we actually got into the Europa League qualifiers. Lost to Eintracht Frankfurt, sadly. But we picked up Julien Stefan, who you might know from Stade Rennes,
Yeah,
who was in the
yeah.
last year. Very, very good manager. I was surprised that he actually ended up at Strasbourg, but we're eighth in the league, just beating Metz, our biggest rival, 2-0 today. Ludovic Ajorc and Jean Alou got goals. So um, we're doing really good. We play 5-3-2. Usually it's either Kevin Gamero or Ludovic Ajorc or Habib Diallo, and Ludovic
Mm-hmm.
Ajorc two up top. Diallo and Ajorc have what 18 goals in Ligue 1 combined. That's actually the deadliest strike duo in France right now.
Mad.
We actually have scored more goals in the all top 5 leagues. We're in the top 3 for goals scored at home because we've beaten Saint Etienne 5-1. We beat Lorient 4-0, I believe. We've been crushing teams at home. Actually, we did lose 2-1 to Lille, I believe, this year, but it's been a really successful season. We're eighth in France right now, and Strasbourg are kind of looking at Europa UEFA Conference League qualifying. But there's some real good teams in France this year. Lens have been on fire. They beat Rennes yesterday, 1-0. That was a good game. But Strasbourg are doing very, very well. I'm not worried about relegation or anything. It's actually quite funny because Bordeaux and Saint Etienne are actually flirting with relegation
And those
this
are
year.
arguably the bigger names.
They're much big. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely,
You
absolutely. But
mentioned you mentioned a player there, Kevin Gamero. There was a time when he was so heavily linked to come to Newcastle, and he was like a player that I was following. I used to follow the news
Valencia,
just on him to make sure like he was coming. Is he coming? Is he coming? We were
yeah.
linked with him for a number of windows, and it never happened. And that was one player that was really disappointing that we never actually managed to sign, because I think he was an incredible player. He still is a green player. He's a bit older now, but I think if we had signed him back when he was still playing for Valencia, would have been he would have been a hell of a striker for us.
Yeah, or at least it would have been worth the shot. It would have been worth the shot. And that's the funny thing now. Strasbourg have better striker depth than Newcastle right now at the moment.
I think most
Diallo,
clubs do.
yeah, yeah, and that's why Newcastle, we need to get two strikers in the window, not just one. We need two
We'll get
because
to
you can't count.
Newcastle. We'll get to Newcastle. Don't worry, don't worry. We will definitely get on to talking about Newcastle.
Yeah,
But while we're still on Strasbourg, there's just
yeah.
one more player that I wanted to chat about. Is the guy you sent me the photo of the other day, if you remember,
Who was that?
Latiba.
Yeah, I've always been fond of him. He hasn't actually had a game this year for Strasbourg. I don't know if he made the bench against Valenciennes in the Coup de France. I'm not sure if he made the bench for that or not. I didn't catch that game when I was at work, but we have really good striker depth at the moment, and but
Well,
I
yeah.
really like Lepo Moti. But
Mm.
2 3 years ago, he could get you 6 or 7 goals alongside a Jork, or trying to think. We had Idris Sadi, Algerian. We've always had some decent strikers, and we haven't gotten relegated since we won League Deux in 2016-17. And the first Strasbourg game I watched, it was hard in the past, probably 4 years ago, to get a Strasbourg game. Jesus Christ. It was probably, it was hard in the past to get Ligue 1 games from Strasbourg or Metz or Troyes or whatever. But I remember the first ever Strasbourg game I watched was at home to PSG at the Stade de la Minon. We beat them 2-1. Bahokan double. Uh, yeah, we beat PSG, and that was incredible. You know, so that was the first ever jersey I got. I got Bahokan on my back. Sadly, he left that year for Angers, but he was a very good striker. He was a good striker.
That's one thing that I've always never done. I've never put a player's name on the back of any like team shirt that I've bought, with the exception of Helsingborg, where I bought Henrik Larsson 17 from when he
Mm,
retired. He moved to Helsingborg after Man United, Barcelona, Celtic, and he retired at Helsingborg. And then when I was in Sweden, I got that shirt and I got his name on it, and I thought this would
yeah,
be something quite unique and rare to have one day. But
yeah,
in general, I don't put players on the back, because these days footballers are, I wouldn't say fickle, but I mean there's not a lot of loyal footballers around. Um, Especially in England, but I think in other countries it's different. I think in other countries some players do stay for the love of the club a little more than they
yeah,
do in England. But yeah, I mean, so that's Strasbourg, and so we've looked at Strasbourg, we've looked at Bayern. You've told me the story about Bayern. It's also the family. So a lot of so I'm sensing a lot of the so with it's French and German football, it's coming back to the family roots.
yeah,
And then you did your project in your it was your freshman year, you said,
yeah,
with Lazio and Roma. Um,
yeah.
any other big clubs that you follow, but like really follow? You mentioned a team in Poland.
Yeah, Legia Warszawa, and that's because my dad's side of the family also, we have Polish and Hungarian roots. So yeah, I
Okay.
support Legia Warszawa, but past few years, it's been a mess this year for Warszawa, Legia Warszawa this year. Actually, we're actually bottom of the extra class.
Hmm.
We're in relegation form. That's good. It's quite shocking, and yeah, I we honest to God might get relegated this year. A lot of
Oh,
injuries,
yeah.
and there's a good video on HITC sevens about what's going wrong for Legia Warszawa this year. But basically, for these smaller clubs in European competitions, um, basically since Legia Warszawa, even though they won the extra class last year, they start out in the first or second round of the UEFA Champions League qualifying games. And those are very, very important because qualifying for Europe for these smaller teams from
Huge. Huge.
Poland or Russia
Hmm.
or Bulgaria or Hungary or, I mean, Sheriff Tiraspol started out in the first round too.
Hmm.
And so the financial reward for getting to the group stage is huge. So
Yeah.
it started off slow this year in extra class, and that's happened the past few years because so much emphasis is put on the qualifying matches for European competition. So much financial, and also for the players because then they can possibly get a move
Hmm.
if they play in, if they play in the Champions League or Europa League, they can get a move onto a bigger club. So players and the club puts lots and lots of emphasis on that. But the problem is that okay, yeah, we've started out slow in the extra class, so that's no big deal. Fans forgive that, but it's just continued on. That's the problem. It, it's like it's a pattern that just has not stopped. And so we're bottom of the extra class right now, and honest to God, we might get relegated. And then the injuries started piling in, and the inconsistency at goalkeeper, especially. So it's been a mess, but I still support them and whatnot. But
Do you
yeah,
get to watch them a lot? Do you get to watch Polish football?
an extra class of TV. Yeah,
Oh,
they actually
cool.
have something for $10 a month, I believe. So I try to catch as much as I can. So
Cool. So
yeah.
I think then talking about teams that are close to being relegated, I think that's a good way to segue into talking about another team that we both know you support, and that's
Yes.